Chikari safety knives, which are the safest method of stripping back cables and wires. These should be the primary tool that is used instead of a retractable blade. In the first half of the video, we will be displaying the techniques of how to use them. In the second half, we will show you the safest methods of using retractable blades if there are no Chikari knives available, although these should only be used as a last resort. Correct PPE should be worn at all times, including gloves and goggles. This knife is used for the larger outer insulation and enables us to cut around the circumference safely. You can adjust the depth of the blade you want for the thickness of the insulation. Push open the knife and slide the cable through the gap, then as a similar motion to a can opener, simply spin the knife around the insulation and pull. You may need to rotate the knife around the cable a couple of times to ensure it has cut through all of the insulation. Once the knife is removed, simply pull off the insulation from around the wire armouring. There are measurements along the edge of the knife where you're able to allocate the correct size of the wire you wish to be stripped. The blades are circular for a secure grip. For wires that are larger than 4mm, there is a wider circular blade at the top of the knife. Place the wire in the correct measurement holes, close the casing around the wire and pull gently. Here is a recap of the information so far. You should always make sure that you have a Chikari knife available in your toolkit, as their use is the safest method of removing insulation from cables and stripping wires. However, if Chikari knives are not available or prove difficult to use because of issues with the cable, the use of retractable blades can be practiced using the following procedures as a last resort. We will now demonstrate the safe and proper use of a retractable blade knife as an alternative method for stripping cable when a safety knife is not cutting correctly, usually during winter months through bluntness of the blade if the cable is very brittle and difficult to cut. When using retractable blades, you must ensure that the correct PPE is worn at all times. Extend the blade and press the red button to release the blunt blade. Press the yellow button on the side of the knife and this will release the compartment. Whilst holding down the red button, carefully push the blade into place. Ensure it is locked in correctly before using. Unscrew the blade casing and carefully take out the blunt blade and switch with the new. Lay the blade flat on the slider and place the cover over. Before screwing the covers together, slide the blades in and out to check it has been placed correctly. Blades must be changed regularly to ensure that they remain sharp, which will maintain a clean cut and help to prevent accidents. Please ensure the blade is fully back in its case before putting it away, as there have been many cases of workplace injuries as a result of this. Remember to wear suitable PPE, including gloves and safety goggles. Also, when changing the blade, dispose of the blunt blade carefully. Blades should be changed and maintained for a clean cut and to reduce the risk of injury. The armouring must be scored with a junior hacksaw prior to stripping the cable. With the retractable blade, place it in the gap and at a shallow angle, push down and away from your body on the insulation, slowly stripping off the cover. The metal wires can be bent and taken off easily. They are simply an armoured layer between the layers of insulation. When cutting around the circumference of the inner sheath, ensure that the correct placement of your hand as shown here. Never have your thumb in line with the blade. Carefully carve the blade slowly around the insulation, twisting the cable in turn, applying slight pressure. Make sure your elbows are resting on something sturdy for a more firm grip. Warning: in the previous video, the insulation should be able to just be pulled off. If this is unable to occur, the insulation needs to be cut lengthways. This is a hazardous procedure, so if you are unsure on the correct method, please ask someone else to assist you. Place the cable on a flat surface where your elbows can lean and have sturdy foundation. Place the blade in the gap of the insulation and push away from you slowly. This PVC insulation is very thin and therefore requires very little pressure. Resting on a flat surface, place the blade underneath the wire and using your thumb and index finger, gently roll the wire across the blade. When cutting the circumference of the inner sheath, ensure your thumb is not in line with the blade. Carefully carve around the sheath, twisting in turn. When cutting the insulation lengthways, ensure your arms are resting on a flat surface, then place the blade in the gap and push away from you. When taking off the PVC insulation, it is very thin and therefore requires very little pressure. Ensuring your thumb is not in line with the blade, gently roll the wire over and push away from you. Please remember, these methods should only be used as a last resort if a Jacari knife is unavailable or not cutting efficiently. If this is the case, please continue with care. If you are ever unsure on the methods, then please ask someone to assist you. Appropriate PPE must be worn at all times when using all the equipment. Ensure retractable blades have been put away correctly to minimise injury. Change the blade regularly so they remain sharp and will have a clean cut to help prevent accidents. Remember, Jacari knives are the safest method of stripping cables and should always be used, but if retractable blades are the only remaining option, please proceed with care using the method shown.